Hi guys, it's Senna here again. So I wanted to make another video. Like I said, I'm trying to make a few videos in one day to get this out of the way because I'm not gonna have time within the next couple weeks. So I'm just gonna delve right into it. This video, I wanted to kind of talk about your Book of Shadows. That was one thing when I first got into this, I wanted my Book of Shadows. Like that was like the big thing to me was I wanted my Book of Shadows. And it can be kind of overwhelming when you look at other people's Book of Shadows online. Most people don't show the inside because it is your Book of Shadows is like your private thing. Your grimoire, on the other hand, is something that you can share with other people that has all your magical recipes and your spells and stuff in it. They can sometimes be separate separate entities. And I will eventually have a grimoire, most likely if I do get into the magical aspect, or even if I'm just getting into like herbs and stuff, I'll probably have my grimoire. But as for Book of Shadows, your Book of Shadows is more your personal thing. It's basically a diary. It's what you're going to write in every day about your experiences. It's what you're going to write in after you do or during ritual, how you felt, what kind of presences you felt, and just your emotions, what happened during it. If you're doing a group ritual with other people, you would write about the experience in your Book of Shadows and explain, you know, how other people made you felt, what happened, step by step. But it is more of a personal diary. It's not something that you would go and show somebody else. I mean, if you feel comfortable doing that, that's fine. But for the most part, from what I understand, most people, it is a very private thing. And for me, mine is a very private thing. All of my thoughts that have that. But if I'm sitting here in meditation and I go into my meditative state to the point of almost hypnosis, as I've said before, and I end up where I go, there is a specific place that I tend to go back to every time. When I meditate, and especially when I see my spirit guide, my spirit animal, and I write about all that in here, and those are very personal feelings because I also write about what I think that might mean or what I think she was trying to say or help me with, and I also talk about my day and things that have happened, and it really is a diary. So your Book of Shadows is one of the first things you're going to want to get. It can be anything. Like I said, mine is seriously just a journal from Target. I very crudely, when I first got it, drew the triquetra symbol on it because I was feeling very charmed at the time. And during meditation, I actually kept seeing that symbol. For some reason it kept popping up, and I never really felt a connection to that symbol because of the show Charmed. I loved that show so much, so every time I saw the symbol it was just like a silly thing to me, because I associated it with the show. But during meditation, I was visited by a spirit or goddess or whatever she was, and I kept seeing this symbol. The symbol kept popping up everywhere, and now it holds a very important meaning to me. So I drew it on my Book of Shadows, and it was a while ago, and it's very horribly drawn. But this is just a normal journal from Target, just blank lined pages. It's got a little book marker in it. I'm about halfway through it, and I've had it for a few months now, I think. I've had it for a few months now, and it's great. I mean, I write a lot in there. So it's the first thing you're gonna want to get. You're gonna want to get your Book of Shadows. Whatever you need to, you do. Even if you just staple some book pages together, or a lot of people use binders, like school binders. If you're still in school, get a school binder and put just a whole bunch of paper in there and use that. A lot of people use binders, and they like binders because they can interchange their pages. So they can have sections. They can have, if they put all of their stuff in their Book of Shadows and they don't have a separate grimoire. Sorry, that word is so hard for me to grasp. They can have different sections. They can have like page made out and like laminated all pretty and everything. That's for spells, and then they can have another one for rituals, and they can have another one for candle magic, and they can have another one for this, and then they can move, you know, they can open the binder and move the pages around as they go. So say you did a ritual that night, and you could write down on that page and put it under the ritual file. So binder is a really popular way to do your Book of Shadows. Me personally, I like booked form. I don't know why, because my Book of Shadows, like I said, is more of a diary. I will have a grimoire. That will probably be a binder, because I know me and I mess up a lot, and I'm going to want my grimoire because it's something that I'm going to show other people to be pretty. So it's probably going to be a binder. There are actual Etsy shops that sell pages, like printed out, pretty paper for you, that you can buy off of Etsy, and they'll send you either the pattern, they'll send you the actual pages in the mail, or they'll send you the actual just thing for it, like the actual thing, and you can print it out at home, and you can type up your Book of Shadows as opposed to writing it with your hands. You can type it up so it's prettier, so it's more legible and readable if you have bad handwriting like I do. I have chicken scratches. You can type it up and print it out and then put it in your binder. That's the one drawback of having a binded Book of Shadows, is you can't interchange everything. What you put it is where it is. But I like that because I date every page, and I can sit here and think, oh, what was that thing I did back in December? And I can go back and find it. And, you know, I have December 6th, December 2nd, and find what day it was. And I can actually read everything that I felt that day and what happened. And then I have it written down what I actually did. So say it was a ritual, or say it was I was infusing a candle with my intentions. I have it written down of what I was doing in there, and I can find it, and that's my personal preference. But you can use anything as a Book of Shadows. My first Book of Shadows, like I've said before, was a old journal I had in the closet from years and years and years ago. I had some scribbled stuff written in there. I just ripped those pages out, and I continued using that. And I used that as my Book of Shadows for my first month or two into my year and a day. And I mean, it worked. I wrote down a lot of things. I wrote down a lot of different symbols. There was like a Tibetan alphabet that I wrote down in there, and I learned how to spell my name. And yeah, it was really cool. Because I learned how to spell my magical name, which is Senna Wales. That's my magical name. I do have a magical name. That's what I go by. It's a name I've gone by forever. I think I got it out of a book when I was really, really, really little. I can't remember who wrote the book. It's a very fantastical book. Had a lot of mythology in it. I mean, it involved like Loki and like all that kind of stuff. And the main girl gets kidnapped in the beginning or something, and her name is Senna Wales, and I just started using that in video games as my avatar's name was Senna Wales, and it's always been Senna. If Senna's a rare name, so I never hear it, but if I were to hear that name, I would turn around. That is my name. That's what I've always gone by for as long as I can possibly remember. And on all my online, all my games that I play, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Skyrim, I'm a big gamer, all of those, Senna. So I have an alphabet written down, and I wrote out my magical name in that alphabet. It looks really cool, and I have that in my old Book of Shadows. But now I'm rambling. Like I said, your Book of Shadows can be anything. You do not need some big fancy giant book. I want to eventually get a big giant fancy book, but since this is just mostly my year and a day Book of Shadows, I really just wanted something simple to just kind of document what I was going through and what I was feeling. And after my year and a day, I will get an official Book of Shadows. I want a leather bound, beautiful, giant, big, thick book with handmade paper. I want one of those eventually, but you don't need that at the beginning. At the very beginning, go buy a simple journal. This was like I think I spent $15 on this, I want to say, because it is like an office journal. But they have simple ones. Go buy one of those normal in the school section at Walmart or Target and just buy an office section. Just buy a normal journal or use whatever you have around you. Just write down on paper. But that's one of the first things that you are going to want to get is your Book of Shadows, because you're going to want to document from the very beginning. There's things I didn't document at the very, very, very beginning. There's things I didn't document back when I was into Wicca, when I was in high school, when I was 15 years old. I had a notebook, and when I got out of Wicca, when I was probably like 16, because I was like, yeah, you know, everybody convinced me it was just a phase or whatever, and I just kind of lost it. I was in school, I was too busy with school and everything, so I threw it all away. And the first book I ever read was To Ride a Silver Broomstick by Silver Ravenwolf, I think is her name. I threw it away. I had a whole bunch of notes in that book that I had written down. I have so many things I had written down. I'm so mad that I didn't keep them. Like I said, it was just, I had also just a plain like school notebook, one of those cheap like 99-cent ones, and I had written a lot of things. I had like a dream journal in there, and I am so upset that I don't have that now, because it'd be really cool to look back at that and look and read what I was thinking at the time and what I was feeling, and if that resonates at all with me now and my path now, if it's similar in any way. But I have no idea. So please, 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 the first thing you do when you get into Wicca is do get a Book of Shadows. Dedicate whatever you want as your Book of Shadows, and that's your Book of Shadows. As long as it has paper on it, it can be your Book of Shadows. You can have a online Book of Shadows on your computer. Use Word or whatever, the Word document, and have your Book of Shadows just typed up online. That's cool too. If you have a laptop or your own computer in your bedroom or whatever, that's fine too, just as long as you document, because really you will regret it later on if you don't write the stuff down, because then you have to go back and go over it again because you don't have it written down and you don't remember what you did, and you're gonna have a trial and error all over again. So it's nice to have it written down so that if you did something and it didn't work, you have it written down so you know, okay, don't try that again because that didn't work. We're gonna have to do it this way. Or you did do something and it did work and it worked great. And it's a year down the line and you're like, it's time to do that thing again. And you're like, oh, I did it before. And you didn't write it down. And now you have to go research and find out how to do it again because you don't remember what you did. And it doesn't work the same as it did last time. And it's kind of upsetting, you know. So please, please, please get your Book of Shadows first. It's one of the first things you're going to want to do. Don't worry about the altar and all that stuff yet. Get your Book of Shadows, or just use the diary you already have. Whatever it is, just write stuff down. It might seem insignificant. It might be a dream. It might just be your day, how your day went, how you're feeling. But it's not insignificant at all. It's very important for you to write it all down and keep it. And keep a record of it, because one day it could come in handy, and it's also kind of nice just to look back at, just to read it back over in the future, you know, and see how you were feeling and the difference from then and now. And that's what this one is for me. My year and a day one is so that after my year and a day is over, I can go back and read. I started writing in this one a month after my year and a day started, a little less than a month. So I can go back and read what I was doing at the beginning of my year and a day and see how much I've grown and how much more I know now, you know, after my year and a day is over, how much I've learned as opposed to when I first started. And yeah, that's really, that'll be really nice to have. So please, and get your Book of Shadows. And again, it can be anything. It doesn't need to be fancy. It doesn't need to be something expensive. It can be just a notebook. It could be a pile of papers. It can be online, on your computer. It can be anything. Just write what you're doing down, how you're feeling. When you're first starting into Wicca, if this is your first day, write it down. Write down, hey, you know, say I kind of looked into this thing called Wicca, and it's kind of interesting. I'm thinking maybe I'm going to go with that. Write that down. Write it down, because that could be the beginning of a whole life path for you that you didn't even know. And then when you decide to start your year and a day, if you decide to do a year and a day, write on your first day, your year and a day, on your first day of your year and a day, write it down, write the date down. I did on mine, on my old Book of Shadows, I wrote down the date. and I wrote down a kind of a promise to myself, a little thing, promising to study as much as I can, learn as much as I can for this next 366 days. And it's kind of a great thing to have. It really is, and in the future I know it will be, because it's the start of a great journey for you. So please get that and do that. It's important. It's great to have. And yeah. So yeah, I think that's about it for this one too. So again, like I said, doesn't need to be fancy. Please don't go out and buy some $100 book right away. Please don't, because when you're first doing it, you're going to make mistakes and scribbles. My last Book of Shadows is a bunch of scribbles and ripped out pages and stuff. Just get something simple first. Start with something simple. You can graduate to something awesome later on. It doesn't need to be super fancy. So I will see y'all in my next video. Haven't decided what that one's going to be about yet either. I'm just kind of going along as I go. So I do hope that you have learned something from this, kind of, of what a Book of Shadows is and what its uses are, and I hope you go and get one, because they're important, even if it's just a diary, even if it doesn't have magical stuff in it yet. It might one day, and you know, you might just want to look back at one day. So thank y'all for sticking with me and watching my super ridiculously long videos. And I will see you soon. Have a good day. Blessed be. Bye.